Hello everyone, this is another video from the peaceful revolutionary Sylvain Rochon. I mentioned in my very last video that I'm doing a couple of videos today on two different topics. I didn't want to mesh it up. Last one was on the cache technology stuff, a little bit of an update on that, so check it out if you're interested in that. This one is I guess like a Christmassy video, if you can call it that. There's a lot of really terrible things going on in the Middle East in particular. And I want to touch on that and add my Christmas spirit to it. You know, even though I definitely don't celebrate Christmas myself because it's a religious holiday. I prefer celebrating Saturnalia or celebrating being peaceful and being loving and all these things, which is also the meaning of this period of the year. I guess that's where I'm coming from. I'd love to wish you really good things for this period and the following year, no matter what philosophy or ideology you follow. So I guess the point is there's this conflict like in Syria right now, for example, and it's kind of spilling over into Iraq and Turkey. You've read a lot of the political reports in the news. You know, these countries are, in a way, in a sense, they're kind of playing the international game of politics between two superpowers. You know, have NATO and the U.S. on one hand, which is NATO equals U.S. really. I mean, let's be honest. U.S. and partners that are scared of them or that really want to be friends with the U.S., for example. And on the other side, we have the Russians and to a certain extent the Chinese that are doing things as well there. So, and there's ISIS, of course, the so-called terrorists. And well, I'll tell you straight out, they are doing terrorism, as far as I can tell. Who's the biggest terrorist? That's debatable. Actually, that's not very debatable. It's very clear that ISIS is not the biggest terrorists. Even after the Paris attacks, even after what they're doing in Syria. I mean, if you look at a global scale, the U.S. is a way bigger terrorist, not towards us, of course, but towards the people of the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, even Japan and Korea. I have plenty of contacts with the Japanese and Koreans, and they really wish the U.S. would just go away. Although they're not doing atrocities there, they're just tired of the pressure, the political pressure, right? But what's going on in Syria, from my understanding, is you have the Syrian president Assad, who's there. He has trouble with the terrorists, with ISIS specifically. He asks the international community for help. The Russians decided to officially help them, following international rules and laws, and got in there, and they started doing operations to bomb quite efficiently, according to what I read, the ISIS targets, while NATO and the US were not very efficient, and because their political intention, even though they say it's about the terrorists, what they really want, they want to fight the terrorists, but at the same time get rid of Assad and ideally put somebody that they like over there. Over in power, possibly to control oil, to control, again, it's all about money and economics. But what's really interesting and deplorable right now is that there's these two superpowers, US and Russia. Remember the Cold War? I kind of do. I'm not that old, but I remember the stories, and they're confronting each other right now. And they're confronting each other with the stories about Turkey and the oil kind of going there, whether or not they are assisting the terrorists of the terror of ISIS. And you got Iraq that wants the U.S. to leave because they're not doing anything to help with their security. And you got the Turks that want to send some troops into Iraq, and it's a big mess. And everybody's kind of vying for some kind of position. And you got the U.S. that are threatening heavily Russia because Russia put their air denial bubbles that are like 600 kilometers wide, covering the whole of Syria. So NATO is effectively blind there. So they got pissed off. at Russia. They started being threatening and kind of threatening nuclear a little bit, like insinuating all their arsenal. The Russians started positioning for the first time in a long time their nuclear arsenal. They say for retaliation purposes, in case the U.S. wants to attack Russian positions and civilians and whatever it is. It's a big mess, and it's really scary because even though it's not in our backyard, if you guys are in North America or even in Europe, but when you're dealing with nuclear, it is your backyard. It doesn't matter. It's going to be. It is your backyard. You can't run away from these things. And if you look at the information that we receive in the West, Russia seems to be in the right. And I talked about this in another video. Russia seems to be in the right here. They were asked, they were invited, they go there, they get threatened. While they are there, they're trying to do their job, like to deal with the Middle Eastern ISIS terrorist group, and helping the legitimate government that's in Syria. And the NATO and the US are just kind of hammering at that and trying to discredit, trying to kind of poke holes at it, trying to be aggressive and posturing. And this is escalating. Like, if the US would not be, and with Israel too, Israel is kind of involved in that, like, fairly heavily too, in conniving with the US. If they would just like leave it alone, they were not inviting there. Just forget about it. Just go home, okay? Russia is there. He was invited, or even better, say, hey, okay, we're going to help you, Russia, and we're going to help you, Syria, and we're going to coordinate. But no, apparently the response they gave, well, I read about it, is that we have conflicting political interests in Syria. Well, everybody knows that. You're not really there to attack ISIS. You actually armed ISIS and trained them a while back, and you want Assad to be gone. So that's why they're clashing. They don't want the same results, but they could help Russia, who is there legit, and China, and resolve this huge threat of potential nuclear disaster. Like, that's pretty serious, right? So it's a time bomb. It's dangerous. The doomsday clock is at, like, I don't know. It's like a 5, or I think it's like half a minute to midnight, if you guys are aware of the doomsday clock, what it means. Like super high risk of total humanity destruction. That's what it means. Merry Christmas. No, but I mean, we should definitely push for our governments to just stand down. It's a perfect time because Christmas is coming. We should be positive. We should be super excited. Politically and for everybody, we should just calm out, put our weapons down. It's like, look, let's just be neighbors and friendly and loving and giving. And that's, the terrorists, their backs are to the wall. They're really in a trouble spot. Let's help them. Let's give them what they need, like their families. I mean, not weapons and shit like that, but with their families, and let's make sure they're okay. Let's have the U.S. and all their troops go back to the States, be with their families. Let's have the Canadians and let's have the French and all these people go back home, take care of their own stuff. Let's be loving neighbors, and then we can communicate through the internet and have a joyful, good time, and use technology to get to know each other in a really nice way and to help each other internationally. And let's forget about all these bombs and all these problems. If there's need for, if Syria needs Russia to kind of help with what's going on for real, if it's a real threat, that's like policing, and that's asking for help. And if these guys are really the bad guys, well, okay, well, they need to be stopped in a certain way. But let's keep it to that. Let's not have the whole world try to take a piece of it and taking sides and creating a World War III here. So just calm down, guys. Everybody calm down. Let's just look at what we need to do as humanity to make things better. Because these terrorists and these people fighting, they don't even remember, I believe, for the most part, probably why they're fighting. It's been going on for so long, and everybody's kind of fighting for different reasons. according to different agendas that the people of each one of those countries don't care about. We don't care. Like, I'm sure you don't. Like, what do you care about the oil over there? About whether Assad is there or not? I mean, how many dictatorships are around that are killing their own people? I think there's 250 countries in the world. Probably 8 of them have like worse dictators running around. We're not there. We're not helping them. We're not doing anything. Each country has to grow at their own pace and deal with their own problems their own way. We managed to do a lot of it in the Western world, where there's a way less corruption, and our governments tend to be kind of okay. And we're civilian watchdogs are there, and we do criticize very strongly, and we have freedom of speech. We've evolved as a society to get there. Let's let the other countries do that in their own way, on their own terms. Let's not meddle with those. Let's just send them stuff that is not weapons. Food, lodging, information, just how to do things in a better way, and let them digest and figure it out. And we're just going to be better at it. We're going to be better off at it. So let's push for that. Let's write to our Congress people, to our governments. Let's activate the internet with this thinking of rebellion, of peaceful rebellion, of course, and be resistant to bad things and to violence and inequality and all these concepts. Let's be active together as a civilization that is connected through the internet in driving the most positive ideas as possible, so that we don't get into the really bad juju, but to the contrary, we transform our government systems to a system that takes care of people, that doesn't go somewhere to try to deal with other people's problems. Center to the people. Let's get things done for real. Okay? And so in that sense, that's really what Christmas is about. It's about love, harmony, being together, and being together, right? And it's not about being together in a family or in a country, or even in some ways, it's not even being together as a planet. It should be beyond that. It's being together with the universe, being together with the planet, solar system. Everything becomes insignificant. Each of us should be the same, have the same rights, have the right to live and freedom, and be comfortable and live well. We don't need a lot to live well. Food, lodging, these kind of things. Let's focus on that. Let's just everybody should have the same basic needs met, and not being afraid. So let's work on that. So on that sentiment, I hope you guys are going to have a great Christmas season, and I will catch you the end of December, I guess, after Christmas. So I'll keep my ears and eyes open, and I'll certainly talk to you back at that time. Ciao, have a nice Christmas. Enjoy.